Okay, hi, welcome again. I know we all had so much fun with George, so I hope that I can be half as valuable as he was, yet we're certainly going to do our best to make the rest of the day very exciting. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Schiff. Hello. I am the devoted COO of Align and supporter of all real estate superheroes. Today, I just want to be transparent with everybody that I'm actually pretty sick. So if my energy's off or my brain doesn't fully work, I just want to throw it out there because I'm not feeling so excellent, but I promise that my 50% will probably be better than most 100, so we'll still be okay, but I just want to be transparent with it because I'm not fully normal right now. And while they finish getting our slides together, I just really want to open up with gratitude, because without some of the people in this room, none of us would have the opportunity to spend the time together and be able to learn and grow to prepare ourselves for 2025. First and foremost, I'm super obsessed with this office. I don't know, does anyone else think it's really sexy? Yes, super sexy. And this wouldn't be possible without, of course, Michelle and the Madison Group. So the partnership with them has been such a huge and tremendous value to all of us. We love being able to create these experiences in the space. We love being able to bring agents together. It's been a vision for all of us locally. So you guys taking the time and you guys creating the space is just something I personally am very grateful for, that we can now continue to do this and build more momentum together. And for the entire Align leadership, community, and family, again, just super grateful for everything that went into this so we can all learn and grow together. So without further ado, are we ready? Okay. So today we are going into a business immersion workshop together for 2025. Raise your hand for me if you were in the room the last workshop I did. Okay, awesome. Raise your hand if you've never heard me speak before. Oh, okay. And then let's break up the room before we get started. If you have your phones on, if you can silence it. Raise your hand if I went into a workshop right now and you would have your data and metrics available to actually start business planning. Like, could you tell me how many appointments you set, how many appointments you held, how many agreements you had signed? Does anyone in this room know that data? Holy wow. Okay, one person in the room knows the data? Okay. Katie, you and I are going to do a one-on-one for 1 hour. You just got that coaching session. There you go. Well, since there's only one human being in this room who knows how to do their job, I guess I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I anticipated, and let's just start at square one. Sound good? Okay, so what I'm going to guess and what I know is the fact that nobody in this room is able to tell me how they do their job is probably a good signal that there's some things missing for us in what's really important in our real estate business, and we may or may not be paying attention to it. Is that fair or fair? Okay, if you were with us in, where were we? We were in Miami. I'm going to do a quick water ski again because I think there's some really important components that we want to pay attention to diving into our business and preparing for 2025. Okay, so most importantly, first and foremost, I am a very, very strong believer that when you learn how to act, there's nothing else you need to know. A lot of us in this industry spend time looking for mentors, we want new coaches, we want to travel somewhere and learn, we want to attend another conference, we want to listen to another call. We're looking for solutions at all times, and in the search for solutions, guess what we're not doing? We're not acting. And what actually causes us to get anything we want, we could stop here and I'll go home, is our willingness and ability to take steps towards a bigger picture on a daily basis. And the direct correlation that you guys have in your willingness to do a certain type of work on a daily basis. Now, unfortunately, I hope my gift for everyone in this room is that you come back 1 year from now and you don't raise your hand and say that you don't have your information to know how you succeeded, because the unfortunate thing for every single person in this room is I can't actually help architect your 2025 in any way meaningful. We're just gonna have to go throw crap at the wall again because we didn't pay attention to what we did the year before. Yet imagine what happens when you actually have the data and you have the power to know on average how many appointments you went on, and on average how many agreements you got signed from that. And of the agreements you got signed, how many of those turned into actual listings and turned into closed buyers? And then you could reverse engineer your life. Who wants freedom? Who wants to not feel burnt out? Who wants to not ask themselves every second, what do I need to do to succeed? Okay, we're in the right room, let's go. Okay, so this is what our lives look like as real estate professionals. I shared this with us at EXPCon. And the reality is that every day you're waking up and you're expecting to be the perfect cake. And this is really the example of Pinterest versus reality. That cake is not being baked unless you're a professional. And how do you get to be a professional cake baker? Does anyone know? You practice. How many cakes do you think the cake baker had to make before Cookie Monster came out like that? Thousands of cakes? How many cakes do you think the person on the right did? 2 cakes. Now, if the person on the right keeps making cakes, do you think they're going to get to the person on the left? Maybe. Enough time on task, enough mastery. Now, as a real estate agent, do you wake up every morning and which one do you want to be? The one on the left or the one on the right? You want to be on the one on the left. Now, how much effort do you put forth to being it? Arguably none, because nobody knows what they're doing every day, right? So here we are, imagining that we're this beautiful cake, yet we're this sloppy hot mess because we don't do anything to learn how to bake, and we don't even go in the kitchen, and then we cry that nobody's buying what we've got because we don't put the effort to make it look good. That is your life right now. And so as we continue to understand that the happiest people don't have the best of everything, they make the best of everything they have. And so the objection of this business immersion for us today is that you guys understand that the tools that you need to succeed are all already within you. And for most of us who are in a line, there's nothing that you don't have to serve you to get what you want. It's your willingness, again, to take the appropriate actions towards the result. And again, as real estate agents, often, how many of us apply effort on a daily basis but don't get the result we want? Does anyone make some calls, don't get an appointment, attempt to get a seller? Yeah, that happens. Now, do we ever go until we get the result, or do we stop when we get disincentivized at the rejection? We stop. We all stop. Does anyone keep going? Yeah, sometimes on their best of days we keep going. Now, the 2 women that just shook their head and said they keep going happen to be the top producers in this entire room. Imagine that. So the 2 people with tenacity are the ones who are actually getting the highest results in this entire room. So there just goes and correlates it for you. Yet at the end of the day, we have to understand that everything is going to come down to a construct. And the more you understand the models in which you are operating for success, the easier it's going to be for you to get what you want. And what I found in my years of having the opportunity to help real estate agents get what they want, it's really about the fact that often we're going to the ineffective thing first, right? And so when we look at this entire path and we look at the different aspects of what's important, where do you wake up and start? Is that where you start every morning? Okay, where do some of you start? Does everyone here start in mindset and make sure their mind's perfect? If that was the case, you guys would know your numbers, so I know that's not the truth. So where do you guys start? Oh, that's just if I want to take pictures. You want to film it? No, I just had it for like me being cute when I wanted to. Okay, so where do you start? Did someone say follow-up? Appointments, we start a follow-up. Anyone else start anywhere else? Tools. Who wakes up and does nothing all day because they have a closing? Yeah, it's not funny. That's the end result, right? That is not meaning that I don't work today because I have a closing. And that's what ends up happening. So we have to really ask ourselves, because every single person is somewhere else in their business. Everyone else is in a different point of willingness. And what I can guarantee you is what's happening is that you're burning out because you're stuck. Okay, in any case, let's just point and have a party. So if my slides were working, what we'd be looking at right now is the fact that you guys are burning out in the cycles that you spoke about, which are follow-up, appointments, closing, and then how are you pretending to deal with your past clients. And what ends up happening is we live in these burn cycles because we're just going between follow-up, appointments, closing, follow-up, appointments, closing, and it's not effective and it doesn't work. So which one do I hit now? And the first thing we start to do is we go to tools, right? So, all right, I'm in this burnout cycle. What is going to help get me to a better place? How am I going to organize myself? How am I going to get out of my brain? How am I going to prevent the burnout? But what ends up happening is we don't really know how to use the tools. We don't know how to effectively get the tools to bring us from where we are to the result we want. So we watch someone else use a tool. We try to use a tool. We go find another shiny penny. We get something on Instagram that says it's going to help us plan better, and we go and we still bang our head against the wall over and over. And the goal ultimately is to start at the most effective point first so that you can actually avoid the burnout and get what you want in this business. And the way that you're able to do it is by starting at the mindset and planning part of your actual business, because if your mind is in possibility, if your mind is in a belief system, and then you actually prepare yourself to do the work, the only thing that can happen is the result. Now, what's missing for most of us, though, is the challenge that our mind is not in a place of possibility, and we certainly aren't preparing or planning. And at the end of the day, while everybody's looking for the answer, you think you need more leads, you think you need more opportunities, you think you need more people to talk to, you don't need any of those. What you need is a plan. You need preparation, and you need to know what you're doing and how to talk to 100 people 15 times instead of 1,000 people once. And again, the fact that we don't know, no one in this room raised their hand and has any idea what their data is, that's really, really scary as a real estate professional. Imagine in my role as the COO of Align if I had no idea what we were doing. What if I didn't know how many people had partnered with us? What if I had no idea how many deals we were pending, or how many deals closed, or how many of our agents who had goals to hit six figures, how close we were to making millionaires, how close we were to our volume goals, and I was just here standing up every day having no idea what was going on. Would you guys like us to lead you that way? Would you like to lead yourself that way? And so this business immersion is about business reality for each and every one of you. I really did hope that about half the room would at least have data and we'd be able to split it up and play, but we don't. And so this conversation today is about leaving the room realizing that if you're gonna play a sport, how are you playing the sport and having no idea what the score is? How are you knowing where you are and what the next move has to be? And so if we understand that the reason also you're burning out is this lack of reality, it's this lack of ability to be able to know what playbook to pick up and which play to run, you can really solve everything and get whatever you want. The good news about this is that every single person in this room can super simply get what they want because nobody's doing what they should. And so, or what you can. And when we fix that, we will be able to fix everything. And a lot of this comes down to this division that I love to talk about with all of you around systems of behavior and systems of operations. And when we start to divide those two things out, what I'm going to share with everyone in the room based on our hand raises earlier is that everybody here is missing systems of behavior. So what I actually want to do is I'm going to do some work with you guys because I don't need to hear my voice anymore. I hear it all the time and I'm very confident in the material I'm about to deliver to you guys. But what I think is that you need to actually do the work so that this helps make any type of change in your business and in your life. Is that fair? Okay, so raise your hand again if you have no idea what your data was for 2024. It's everyone in the room except for Katie. Okay, so if we were going to install a system of behavior for ourselves so that beginning tomorrow, we started to put something in place so that I would pay attention to this, what would the system of behavior be? And let me back up because some of you are new to me and you don't even know what a system of behavior is. Now, when you start to divide up the way that we structure results, it's going to happen in one of two ways. It's who you're being and how the systems, tools, and resources are helping support you. And so the systems of behavior are the things that will cause you to act. They're the things that protect your behavior as your behavior is, not waiting for you to change to do something. And for most of us, we're waiting for a different result. We want to change, we want to transform, we want to see something else happen, we want a sunny day, we want no showings, we want no closings, we want no children. It doesn't matter what it is. We want it to be different than it is, and we're not acting because we have a delusion that there's another environment that's going to cause performance. And that's not actually the case. So what you have to understand is in the current state that you are, being the person that you are, that doesn't want to pay attention, that wants to pretend like there's another solution, that's not playing all out every day, you need something to change how you're acting, and that's your system of behavior. So whether that's going to be a cue, whether that's going to be a friend, whether that's going to be something on your phone, whether that's going to be a Post-it, whether it's going to be a computer home screen, I don't know what it's going to be, we're about to figure it out, yet there has to be something to cause you to desire to know what you're doing. Because not knowing what you're doing is the most painful way to act. How can you ever have a good quality of life? How can you ever have freedom? How can you slay goals when you're working blind? It's literally impossible. You can't get what you want. And then every day we wake up imagining that we should go get what we want. Yet we can't get it because we have no idea how to do it. And then we make ourselves wrong. So then what happens to our mindset? Exactly. And so that's what we want to break through. And then when we understand, okay, I'm not changing. I am me as I am. What am I going to do so I perform? My voice isn't going to change, the way I dance isn't going to change, the stage isn't going to change, and the lights are not going to change. I have to get on that stage and I have to perform. What's gonna get me on stage? So I'm gonna ask you all to just take a couple minutes right now and figure out your actual system of behavior so that you can start to pay attention to what you're doing so you can have a real estate career worth having and a life worth living, because you guys deserve that. So I'm just gonna put music on for a minute. I'm gonna let you guys work on your own. If you wanna work with a partner next to you, yet we need to not move forward from this process here until you guys understand something within yourselves so that you can cause a different result. Is that fair? Does anyone not understand what we're doing and what we're trying to put in place right now? So we're all good? No, you're looking for the cue. So a system around your behavior is gonna be, what is the reason that I have no idea what my numbers are? So like ask yourself that question. What is the reason I couldn't raise my hand when Jen asked me? What's going on? What, because you don't like your numbers? You don't like your numbers because you don't like that you don't work. The people who don't like numbers don't like the fact that they don't put enough effort to get the result. Because people who put effort in, Brett, Omar, do you guys love the numbers? I freaking love the numbers. I wake up earlier than I used to wake up just to see the text messages every morning of the numbers, because the numbers tell me whether I'm winning or not. The numbers tell me how to act. If I woke up every day, when you wake up every day and there's nothing telling you how to perform, how do you know how to have a good show? Do you think Taylor Swift does it all on her own? She's a lot of people. She has a lot of people. Who do you have? What do you have? For most of you, you're just operating on nothing, and then you're expecting this extraordinary result. You're coming to me and saying, I want to make $500,000 next year, Jen. And I'm like, awesome, let me see your calendar. And you're like, oh, I don't use that. Okay, well, how are you going to make $500,000 on your own will and burnout? So again, these systems of behavior are really built for us so you have something. You might need to tell yourself right now, I need a reminder on my phone. You might need to tell yourself, I need to know how to use the system so I track my numbers. You might need to tell yourself, I don't know where to find them, so I'm not looking at them. You might not even know what numbers you're supposed to track, and that's okay. Yet everybody is somewhere right now, and so let's just take 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you to share as well, and let's figure out what your system of behavior that could ignite you to perform in a way that's going to be effective. That's what this is about. Everyone in this room deemed themselves ineffective by not having any idea what the score of their game is, but everyone's here to win the Super Bowl. All right, yes? In the beginning.
And I don't have a number of calls.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the very least, you have to be able to get to appointment set forward. So appointment set, appointment held, agreement signed, reset appointment, then from agreement signed, listing live, right? Listing under contract, agreement signed, buyer under contract. So in order for you to predict your real estate business, you have to know how much effort it takes you to set an appointment, and then on average, how many appointments you set a week and how many appointments you hold, and based on that, that's gonna back you into your production. And real estate is sales, and in case anyone doesn't know, sales is predictable. So if anybody's sitting in this room thinking that they don't know how to get their result, they don't know how to get to 6 figures or 7 figures or anywhere you wanna go, you're just lying to yourself. Your brain is literally just telling you a story to keep you from taking action because it wants to be safe, and it doesn't want to be uncomfortable. There's nobody in this room. If we could just architect $400 million, you can architect 4 million or 40 million or 100 million or 25 million. I promise you it's predictable. We're still running predictable at hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's impossible for you to say that we can't figure out how to help you close $20 million in sales or take 20 listings. Is that fair? So if you're in this room imagining that there's something to figure out, we're also going to leave today knowing that there's nothing to figure out, yes? Except for clarity towards what we may be missing or the systems of behavior that's going to now cause us to act differently. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes, come up with your system of behavior. Let's figure out how everybody's going to know what they're doing so they can win faster. Okay, let's hear how we are going to just slay 2025. So who came up with their system of behavior and figured out what was missing? Who wants to share? Go ahead.
Committing to time and making sure you stick to the time in your calendar.
Committing to time and sticking to what's in your calendar. You think that could transform you? Yes. Who else?
Accountability partner.
Accountability partner.
You don't like accountability. What do you?
I'm going to talk about it. Oh, you're naughty. Oh, he knows. You're almost ready to teach. You're going to be my substitute. Yes. Discipline.
Yeah, daily discipline.
Okay, so discipline is a skill.
Yeah.
So where do you create a system of behavior to build discipline? Because you're not going to wake up tomorrow with discipline. All right, so let's talk about it together. Yeah.
Tell people that you won't want to let down. So if you let yourself down, tell your wife, tell your brother, tell your cousin, tell anybody in this room.
Tell people you don't want to let down, so you act and then build the discipline. Yeah.
Well, last time you were here, you were talking about time blocking. You asked how many people time block, and I love time blocking. But then you said that you did.
I'm going to go into it.
I
Yeah.
forget how many hours you did, and I
5.
was like 2 hours maybe I was doing. And so
Yeah.
then I added on to it.
Yeah.
since then, and that's what got me to know my numbers. Because I was one of those things where it was like I knew some of my numbers, I knew the stuff, but then getting to know how many appointments, how many
Yeah.
contracts, and where does that balance with the quality of life that I want. And that was adding on to that time blocking.
So let me ask. So from you taking the additional time, are you now getting more results in business, but also feeling less burnt out?
Definitely less burnt out.
Okay.
And it's been 5 weeks.
Yeah, so it's new, but you're starting to see. Okay, good. All right, did everyone catch that? So she was at like 2 hours of planning. I told her I planned 5 hours. She didn't get what she wanted at 2. She extended the 2, and now she has time for her numbers. She's less burnt out, and she's building her pipeline to result over the last 5 weeks. See how that happened? That's a system of her behavior. I was performing for 2 hours. Now I'm going to perform for 3 and watch what happens. Okay.
I'm not doing 5.
No, I said 3. I said 3. I didn't say you were doing 5. Okay, who else? Please.
Sort of gamifying it and finding fun in it. Like
Yes.
I started working with Lexi on the team. I'm a big team player when it comes to working in the systems and being organized. I'm scoreable. Thanks, Dave. I know Jeff loves that too. But
Opposites attract.
since I started working with Lexi, who made it fun, and she's a very lovely, sweet person, and was very gentle and fragile with me, again, knowing that I was fragile because like I couldn't even get my login. Now we're working together, and I spent like hours in follow-up calls yesterday cleaning up my database.
Stop it,
And
you
now
little
I feel
flirt.
Like, this is so fun.
So fun.
People again.
Yes, and they want to hear Happy Thanksgiving and come to wine night. Yay! Yay, okay, awesome.
Reached out to tons of people, and it was like very rejuvenating.
That's what I was just going to say. All right, so remember, we're going to talk about it more, but when we talk about these energy cycles, remember we started in the beginning at the mindset, planning, and the tools, because what happens when we start there, she applied effort, and Red now has energy. She's invigorated. She did things that helped her want to do more, versus us having no idea what we're doing, starting at the coldest, worst thing possible, burning ourselves out, and then getting nowhere. I didn't even pay these people to talk. Okay, what else? Share with me, please. One more.
You mentioned how do you build discipline, and like, to me it's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
So when I started doing this, really digging into this, it was uncomfortable. Like I was it's 9 o'clock, I want to make phone calls, all right, I'll make some calls. I mean, not even gradually, within a week, I was like, if I'm not making 30 calls in that time block, then I fail. And either I'll extend it or I'll make more calls later in the day. Now it's like I just get up and bang out the phone.
Now you, my friend, are another phenomenal example of shifting perspective and getting results. So prior to you doing this, how many pendings did you have in July? 0 pendings. 1 maybe. Okay, and now this last cycle, you're at 3. So he tripled his business. Now again, by doing things that were uncomfortable. He attended boot camp. Now we're going through and he's putting time on task and building the systems around behavior, showing up here and listening, and the results are happening. So we can see everybody who's starting to apply these elements into their business are getting really fast results. And are you burnt out or are you energized by the results?
Well,
Definitely energized by them. This is just so much magic. I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm not even sick anymore. I told you, Brett. Yeah.
Less stress when I know what I need to do at every time block. Instead of going, what should I do now? Let me try that, let me try that. So,
The clarity is the most powerful thing. You can't operate effectively wondering what to do. I have very high output, I'm told. My output comes because I don't ever ask myself what to do. I am so prepared that there's something that tells me how to operate all the time I'm operating. If I had to ask the question and decide based on what I felt like, none of us would be in this room, I can promise you that. Okay, so now we know this reminder of how we want it to be versus how it actually is. So again, now as we operate, we pretend that we have this goal. Again, many of us should have been setting 2025 goals by this point already in Q4, yet things happen every step along the way. And usually we disincentivize our mindset when it doesn't happen the way we want it to happen. So this is really just the reality of understanding what we need to prepare for so that we have the tenacity to win. The number one over any other quality that a successful human being possesses is what? Do we know? Guess. Just throw a couple out there. There's one over everything else that they tell you. No. No. Keep going though. Keep going. Closer. One more. Let's see if we can get it. It's resilience. It's resilience. And this is the reason why. Because everybody gives up when it doesn't happen in that straight line from creating a vision to achieving it in minimal effort. And every time you hit the bump, you end up going backwards. And so this change process is something that I like to bring up over and over because this is what's the difference between mediocre and sustained success is it's the fact that there's this journey you're going to take every time it doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go. And every time, like Ben said, or you shared, that it feels wonky, it feels chaotic, it feels like you should be resisting it, it feels like it's breaking your life down. When you start to build systems around behavior to success, your brain does not know how to feel into the future. It only knows how to feel what it's been used to up to this point. So every single person in this room who has no idea their stats and how to perform properly in 2025, when you start doing the work to create that, your brain's gonna go apeshit. Literal apeshit. It's gonna tell you, this lady's crazy, what did she tell you? Stop this, we don't need this, let's go play, let's go hang out, let's go see our wife, let's go to the children, I have a closing today, I'll make calls tomorrow. Because every single time we get into that resistance and chaos. Yet what happens if you look at this, there's two things we're playing against, and the correlation is time and performance. And so we require two things, whether you like it or not, or whether your brain tells you it's what it needs or not, it's the truth. And there has to be a certain amount of time on task where you are performing and taking action for anything to be different. And if you act for 5 minutes or for 5 days and you expect to be at that new self, you are just a Lulu. You can't get there. And what are we going to do to be able to identify the actual emotional strife that comes through the actions to get to different? And if you want a new self, this is required. There's no person, there's no book, there's no Netflix documentary that you will ever see that has somebody get on there and say, I woke up and I was incredible and everything was amazing and this is why I'm the best human in the world. Has anyone seen that one? Because I haven't. The actuality is that if you think about it, and I've been practicing a lot for like digital problem solving. So one of the things, if you pay attention, that I never personally watched is how many minutes into a movie or a sitcom do we go before we see a problem or an issue stated? Because the entire movie and the entire show is about solving the problem. And so what if your entire show, your entire day's effort was about solving wherever you're at? And not giving up, but having the tenacity to continue to roll the tape till, guess what, this moment happens and crap, I spent enough time that holy S, it's working. And now what do I get? I get the benefit of new self. Yet what happens when I'm a new self? Was anyone in here ever a new real estate agent? Raise your hand if you were ever new. Okay, raise your hand if you've crossed $10 million in sales. Raise your hand if you've crossed $20 million in sales. Okay, someone who raised their hand both times. How long did it take you to get from 0 to 10 million? 2 years? 2 years? 2 years? How long did it take to get from 10 to 20? More than 2? Yeah. A lot more, you don't even know, so many years. So again, the reality is that time and performance need to correlate with one another. I'm gonna ask us to read this together. Are you ready on the count of 3? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Goals without deadlines equals fantasies. Goals plus deadlines equals objectives. Goals plus deadlines plus plans equals intention. Goals plus deadline plus plan plus consistent action equals success. Personal meaningful goal plus deadline plus consistent action equals fulfillment. Okay, so about 1/3 of the people read this out loud with me. And so what I'm going to bring up to everybody is that human beings are resisting machines. This was just a test of the emergency broadcasting system. So what I know is that the 1/3 of the people in the room who just read this with me are the 1/3 of the people who are listening to what I'm gonna say and are actually going to blow their 2025 results out of the water. Those of you who just stared at us and didn't open your mouth and didn't speak, what's going on in your mind that you resist when people share and ask you to do something? That is the first thing that you need to pay attention to, because those who do not listen when asked have resistance that's stopping them from their day-to-day. So just something to understand. Now, when we look at these equations, because I'm in love with them, what do we see? Now, success is different from fulfillment. That's my favorite part of this. Now, raise your hand if you're at the point in your career where you're ready for fulfillment because you've had a lot of success. Now, what do we see is different between the success equation and the fulfillment equation? A personal, meaningful goal. Okay, now how do you think that affects the difference of success and fulfillment? It's something connected to you, right? So if you want to close $20 million in real estate sales, that's a great goal. We can architect that. You can do it. You're going to be successful. You hit it. But it's meaningless if there's not something that you're connected to. And so again, all of us are at different stages right now. If you're the person who's in this room and has no idea how you're doing anything and no idea how you're gonna close a deal a month next year, well, guess what? You're still up here in fantasy because you have a goal, you have no deadline, you have no focus, you don't understand how to actually get there. So what I'm gonna ask each and every one of you is to just look at this screen for a second, and if you have a pen and paper, write it down, but if you're on your phone, will you write down what equation you currently think you're at first? Just write down the equation you think you're operating at right now. Just take a second to write it down. And then once you write down your current self, I'm gonna ask you to write down in 2025 where you wanna end up. All right, raise your hand when you just did this if you're at fulfillment, and can someone take a picture because I want to spend time with you this year. So raise your hand if you're at fulfillment. Anybody? I'm the only one? Okay, Red and I are going to spend a lot of time together. That's amazing. Okay, so wherever you are, there's no judgment, yet ultimately we want everybody to raise their hand and say that the next thing for me is to be fulfilled. So if right now you're just attempting to get to an objective or an intention or a success around the goal, let's really catapult our systems of behavior and let's really catapult our actions so that all of us can be at fulfillment. That's where we deserve, and I want us to be able to pour into you so you can get that. So you become what you think about. So I had a really crazy run the last 3 weeks. I've been all over the place. I've taught more times than I can imagine, and I've done a ton of stuff. And guess what I thought about over and over? I sure hope I don't get sick between New Jersey and North Carolina. Over and over I said it to myself for like a month. And here I am, not even feeling close to myself. So it's just a really fine example of wherever we are putting our thoughts, wherever we are putting our focus, the chances are it's going to create itself. And whether you believe in the wonky, hokey, witchy stuff or not, it's true. And so this is the construct around your mindset that whatever you're believing is going to occur will transpire. So if you are believing in yourself, you have a really good shot of 2025. If you are not believing in yourself and you're wondering what's the reason you're here and you're worried about interest rates still and you're sad of who the president is and you think that there's no listings to be sold and it doesn't matter what it is under the rainbow, any excuse Any excuse that you're using, it's an excuse that's going to keep your thought patterns from going and getting results. And what I know is everywhere that all of us are, hundreds if not thousands of homes are being sold a month, correct? Okay, so that's what we need to remind ourselves of. There's nothing to get in the way except for what we're thinking about so we can focus on the result. And what ends up happening here is you're going to be in one of these two places based on that. You're either going to be frozen, because you're going to be in criticism and you're going to be in self-doubt and you're going to have a lot of negative self-conversations around what's possible or not possible, or the result you've seen up to this point because you didn't have the proper systems of behavior or systems of operation, so you're making yourself wrong, yet you didn't have a chance. You're crying you didn't win the Super Bowl, but you didn't even show up to training camp. So where's the gap for you? And you certainly didn't show up to practice every week, and you certainly didn't show up to play the game every week, and you certainly didn't look at your wins and losses or roll the tape. So let's be fair with ourselves. Now, what happens on the other side of it, though, where you are flowing in possibility? You are telling yourself the affirmations of success. You have an internal belief system. You can see it before you believe it. You have positive self-talk. You're manifesting, right? It's a belief system. When Brett told me that he wanted to close $400 million in a line in 2025, Brett, did I have a strong belief system on that $400 million goal? It happening in 12 months? Is he here? Oh, he's not here. My belief system around that goal happening in 12 months was not at its highest peak because it was like basically more than a double, right? So let's just talk about how this works in a goal standpoint. So it froze me. Because I'm like, that's probably like a little bit more than we can run as a first chase. So what did I do inside of that? We made a deal. And I could see 350, and I thought that was a crazy stretch. So I'm like, okay, well, let's adjust it and let's head behind 350 because 350 gets all of our brains in a belief system. It gets all of our brains in possibility. It gets us all thinking and seeing what's structured versus paralyzing ourselves in something that just seems a little grander than where we are in the moment. And so by doing that, we were able to take the entire construct of the goal. We put a baseline at 350. We put a dream line at 400. We've closed 315. We have an over 100 million pending, and we're going to do it. Yet, just giving you guys the example of how it works, when I got the big goal at first, I was frozen. So what did I do to get back to flowing? I brought it to something that I could see and was actually possible. And then when we could do the actions towards that, it could blow our minds and even get greater than we thought it would. So this is for all of you too. Like I'm giving you the example so you can figure out where that example shows up for you. So whatever's freezing you, you got to get to a point of flow. So if the goal is too big, make it smaller. If the idea of talking to 10 people scares you, talk to 3. The game here is getting it to be small enough that your brain doesn't get scared. Because if your brain doesn't get scared, it'll allow you to perform. My brain got scared at 400. My brain was ready at 350. And that was the game. And so what's your game? How do you take yourself from frozen to flowing? And a lot of it happens in this concept of what's really going on in the mind, and it's the play between the unconscious and the conscious. And what happens is we have a goal setter. So who set a goal for 2024? Raise your hand. Okay, and then who accomplished the goal for 2024? Okay, about 1/6 of us. Now what happened in all fairness is that we just weren't in alignment to our goal setter and our goal getter, which means our conscious mind wants something and our unconscious mind makes sure that we don't get it. And the reason that our actual behavior does not match the actions of the goal is because there's something going on in your subconscious that you don't even know is happening that's causing these narratives in your brain to pause action. That's all this comes down to. It doesn't matter who stands in front of you. You guys can go to every expert in the world and it's going to be the same thing right here. You master this, you master everything. And so wherever you are not acting, there is a narrative, and that narrative needs to be transformed into something different or smaller so the brain is willing to perform. Now, if you guys think through that, can you all think of something that you're paused in because it seems too grand, but potentially could make smaller to act on a daily basis? You see that? And this is what you guys were talking about. You don't have a cue. Not a clue, cue. And you don't have a cue. Yeah, isn't that cute? All right. You don't have a cue, which means how do you expect that any of this is going to happen when it's not your brain that's going to do it? See, most of us are still relying on our brain for performance. You have to eliminate the brain from being the architect of the show. The brain just gets to dance when it gets on stage. And you're expecting the brain to be the person who's putting the show together. The brain's not putting the arrows toward together. The systems are putting the arrows toward together. The brain is dancing. And that's what's broken for us. So how do you figure out how to cue yourself? And what you were talking about is I don't love accountability partners because I think accountability has like a little bit of a naughty connotation to it for people. Just like, give me the report on your numbers. Nobody wants to report anything. What ends up happening in that accountability partner relationship is your brain starts to shut down because you don't want the transparency. You don't want to be told what to do. We're human resisting machines. That's the way the brain works. So I call them cue partners. Because a cue partner can work with you and they can decide ahead of time what cues you may want to be reminded of so that you can perform. And then your cue partner can come back to you and say, hey, did you manage to do that thing you set the timer for? Or you set your alarm for? Or did you look at your Post-it? And so if you had a cue partner, does that feel better than an accountability partner? That's really where you can get a different result. Because now if you're going to admit to having different ways that you want to set up these habits, and I love it being health, attitudes, beliefs, implementation, and thoughts for success. So these habits do require something in order for them to take place. The brain is not initiating them. And whether the cue partner does it or the cue itself does it, these habits are what's missing for everyone. The habit of using Follow-Up Boss, if you're in a line, to put the data in the system so that your numbers can be there for you is a habit. The habit of paying attention every day and talking to a certain amount of people to expect that you win and get what you want, that's a habit. And the habits come into play with trigger, action, and reward. So again, leaving ourselves to our own devices, we're not going to get anything different. But if we find the cue, the trigger, we take the action based on the trigger, and then we have something like winning on the other side of it. Red just talked about, she set up her reminder to then go into her CRM. She took the action, and look how elated she was, right? It felt so good. Do you think Red's going to go back in her CRM and talk to people? She is, because she's building a habit loop. This is what everybody needs, and you just need to figure out where is the most appropriate place in your life you need it now to move the first domino you need forward. And it's habit systems. So what are you using? Is it Google? Is it the notes in your phone? Is it Trello? Is it Follow-Up Boss? Is it smoke signals? Is it pen and paper? It doesn't matter what it is. It cannot be your brain. Everyone needs to leave this room understanding that every time you're using your brain, you're never going to get what you want. And if you keep telling yourself, oh, here I am using my brain, I'm not going to get what I want. Here I am using my brain, I'm not going to get what I want. It'll force you to behave differently. It'll force you to go to the system, to go to the cue partner, to go to the tool. Something's going to happen there for you. Yet what is the system that's going to work for you? You have to decide that. Yet it can't be nothing. So this is now where the system of operation is going to meet the system of behavior. Because the system of behavior knows that I don't work unless I'm cued to do it. So now my reminder is going to go off on my phone every day, so I spend my hour and a half doing what I said I was going to do. And then that magic can start to unravel. Does anyone have any questions before we keep going? And then what time is it? 1:22. Okay. So now you see from the standpoint of a 2025 business immersion, how a lot of times when we go into these business planning sessions, we imagine that we're going to look at numbers and we're going to architect this perfect little business and we're going to pretend we know how many of this we're going to do and how many of that we're going to do, and it's really all meaningless BS, because as no one raised their hand in the room, no one knows what their conversion rates are. Nobody knows on average how many appointments they're going on. No one knows on average how many appointments are turning to agreements. Nobody knows on average how many listing agreements signed are turning to listings live and how long. Imagine knowing those things. Would your business be difficult? Would it not be easy to be able to produce the $20 million you want in 20 hours or less a week? There's a lot of people in this company doing that because they're relying on those tools. And preparation is where impossible becomes I'm possible. Now, it's not planning and it's not mindset, it's preparation. So can anyone throw their hand at the difference between preparation and planning? Just for fun, no judgment. Okay, doing it versus thinking about it. Let's hear some more.
Practice.
Practicing. Okay, let's hear some more.
Let's say planning is what you want to do, preparation is how you're going to do it.
Okay. Like, what is it that I'm going to even plan?
Yep.
Very good. So if we just go into planning, okay, I'm here, it's the morning, I'm going to plan. What are we planning? Anyone have what are we planning? If I were going to plan your day today, what do you got on there? What are we working with?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? That's the answer. Yet, if we prepared ahead of time when we went to plan, then do you think we would know that I want to talk to 20 SOI people and wish them happy Thanksgiving and tell them I'm grateful for them? And when I want to text 5 people and ask them what their favorite red wine is because I'm getting some for my family dinner and I want to get something good? It's all possible, but that's going to require preparation. And what do we prepare for? We prepare to be lazy. We prepare to wish we didn't have to work anymore. We prepare to visualize the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to come to us with almost zero effort. That's what we do. And so when the preparation towards the results can now come into getting what you want faster, and you can get the wins will then cause that performance to just continue to increase and increase. And until you value yourself, you will not value your time. And until you value your time, you will not do anything with it. So the question really is what's missing in who you are so that you actually care enough to pay attention to what you do? And that's it. When there's something big enough, when there's something grand enough, when there's something meaningful enough for you that you're going to perform whether you feel like it or not, all of a sudden you're going to start getting it. Yet if you're still deciding whether you want to work or not today based on how you feel like working or not, I don't ever feel like doing anything. I would be in Hawaii 365 days a year sipping margaritas. We don't do things because we feel like doing them. We do them because we're committed to doing them. We do them because we want impact. We do them because we want results. We do them because getting something that we work towards feels really incredible. And so where are those connections for you? Because it might be different. Yet there has to be something there or you're not ever going to get anything grand. It's okay to be mediocre if that's what you want, but you have to tell yourself, I'm just going to be mediocre. You can't wake up every morning and tell yourself, I'm going to be grand, but only be willing to think and act mediocre. Because then what's your brain going to tell you every day? Something's wrong with you. Here's another day that you're a loser. Here's the next day I told you you couldn't do it. What the F's wrong with you? What the F's missing? Told you so, told you so, told you so. And then you go to bed miserable. And that's not fair. And you didn't even attempt to do anything to be different, and yet you're beating yourself up for inaction because your brain stopped you from acting and then told you you were a loser for not doing it. So do you see how ineffective the brain is? It's poisoning. It's literal poison. And so what ends up happening in this preparation is what do we need to prepare for so that the planning makes sense? And I'm going to sit here and tell you all that has nothing to do with real estate. Because what you actually have to prepare for is who you are being and what's happening inside here so that the rest of all of this not easy stuff, simple yet not easy, becomes possible. And I really believe in the body, mind, heart, and soul integration and dimension. So like, what are you doing for your physical self? And what are you doing for your mental self? And what are you doing emotionally and spiritually? And standing in front of you as someone who has burnt myself from every single end of the stick over the last 13 years, I can tell you the difference of what it looks like when this comes first. And the results are extraordinary. I never got what I wanted from the empty leaking bucket, no matter how hard I grinded. And I don't think anyone does. Yet when this came first, everything came. And this is what's available for you in your preparation, because you need to prepare to be the best you can be so that when we go do the real estate work, when we go do the relationship, when we go do the care and candor, we do it with a high. Because who wants your energy when it's at rock bottom? I don't want your ugly rock bottom energy. I don't want your thirsty, I need money energy. I don't want your, I'm gonna apply 5 minutes of effort because I have nothing and I need something and I don't even want to talk to you and I'm not even gonna ask you questions. Like, I don't know how many times you guys listen to other realtors have conversations, but I would say about 90% of the time you guys are talking, you are literally trumping the conversations of the person you are on the phone with because you're not even listening to what they're saying to act from response. You just want to get something done and just literally bulldoze a human because you aren't connected to who you're being. You're just looking for that paycheck. You're just looking for a fast result because we're dopamine junkies. And what ends up happening in preparation is the game of winning this balancing act between leading and lagging indicators. So I know that there was a bunch of new people in the room, so I'm going to go through and slow this down for a second. Who can scream out to me what some leading indicators for preparation are? Watch the numbers today that predict the numbers that come tomorrow. So we are all going to know the games we play and understand our score in 2025. What are the leading indicators that we're paying attention to? Okay, awesome. What else? Like calls, yep. What else? Meaningful conversations, yep. What else? Nurtures added is another one. Okay, what are some of the lagging indicators that are going to happen from this preparation? Yep, agreement signed, closings, listings live. So where are you starting? Remember, like we looked at that initial cycle and you guys are like, oh, I'm in appointments, I'm in follow-up, I'm in closings, I'm in forever clients. Where are you? You're in lagging indicators. So if your energy is going only to lagging indicators, how come you think your pipeline constantly dries up in 90-day cycles? This is the real estate agent's nightmare, because let me just go be on the side of the seesaw that's all the lagging indicators and the lagging indicators and the lagging indicators, and we forget the preparation around the leading indicators. And so in this preparation game that we're playing, we're going to look at both. And then the other elements that I think in preparation that are super critical are when you're preparing for your lead conversion activities, not all conversations are created equal. And I believe we all decided that we're attempting to get the fastest results with the highest energy. Yes or yes? Okay, so you can start here with people you don't know and you haven't talked to and don't know your name, or you can start here with people who know your name or could recognize your name in 30 seconds or less. So right here, this is your choice. You're preparing, and when you prepare, you're either starting here or you're starting here. You're starting there or you're starting here, and you're not paying attention. So what happens if you start here and you start making calls? How much effort do you think it takes to get that little bit at the bottom? It's a lot. And then from here to there, how much does it take? More than most of us are making on a daily basis in effort? Yes. Thank you for being honest. So then what happens if we get to start here, though? That's pretty powerful. So now I'm starting here, and now all I got to do is set my appointment. Now all I have to do is be in trust and rapport to get that agreement signed, and there's my client. So when you're preparing, because you're not thinking, you're starting here. And what we're going to do in preparation is we're going to start here and just blow it out of the water real fast. That seems fun. Okay, so how are we going to prepare? The first thing is brain dumping out of your mind. And so you've probably heard me say at least 9,000 times already that the brain is not our friend and that everything we do needs to be non-brain related. The first step to this preparation is a brain dump. So if you are somebody in this room right now who does not have a system of behavior around how things come out of your brain and into a tool that you can then decide what's important, that's it. That's the game changer. That's your 2025. So let's be transparent. Who has a tool right now that they dump things out of their brain into something they can look at? Okay. Between us not knowing our numbers and us not having brain dumps, we're going to have $50 million producers in this entire room with these two changes. Okay, so if you are keeping it in your brain, that's just step one. Everything has to come out. Imagine, does anyone remember Inspector Gadget from when we were little? And remember how the bomb blew up at the end? Okay, imagine that's your brain. So at 2-minute increments, the brain blows up and it can't remember anything. So if you operate from the point that your brain will not remember anything that's in it 2 minutes from now, what do? What would that force you to do? If you needed to be a top producer and you could not remember anything for more than 2 minutes at a time, you'd be writing it down, you'd be taking a lot of notes, maybe a systems of reminders. So that's what you need. Pretend you cannot use your brain anymore. If you could not use your brain, what would you do? When you change that, you will blow your mind. And it starts with this brain dump, because if you're not dumping out, who decides how to prioritize in their brain? Anyone prioritize in their brain right now? You can't, because your brain doesn't prioritize. Your brain stays safe. Your brain does what it feels like. Your brain does what it knows emotionally. So if you are not using anything and you're literally in your brain saying, do I do this first? Do I do this next? Let me think of the 7 things I need to do. Who do I need to call? Who do I need to call back? Who do I need to follow up? Who didn't sign the listing agreement? You have no shot. And so every time you dump, you need to sit there with a list until there's nothing left in your brain. 0 things in your brain. I have nothing left. It can be personal, it can be professional, it can be the things you said you were going to do when you were 12 years old and you still think about. It cannot be left in your brain. Because the power of what happens on the other side of the brain dump is now you get to decide how to use your battery. Right now, you're not deciding how to use your battery. And so your energy is just depleting at all sorts of degrees that you can't even control, and you have no idea what's happening because you are not preparing, you are not planning, and then you're not acting in accordance with this high energy goal we're talking about. And you only get 1 battery a day, okay? So if you only have one battery and then it's done, how are you going to prepare and plan so that the green energy is going towards result and you get what you want? Do you see how this is all coming together, everybody? Yes. So let's figure out how to do that. First thing we have is this brain dump, right? So I have 77 things on a list, and I have to figure out how I'm going to execute my 77 things. So the first step to that in preparation is dividing it by quadrants of importance, okay? And what ends up happening, oh, we're on fire. Oh my God, we're like on real fire. Oh my God, I thought it was a real actual fire. Woo! We are on fire, aren't we, everybody? For time's sake, since we wanted to make sure we heard everything George talked about, but I have really incredible things I want to finish with you. Can I go till 2? Are you guys okay if I go like 30 more minutes? Go. Okay. So let's talk about these quadrants. So what's going to happen? You have a brain dump. You have 77 things you have to do. You only have so many hours in the day. Part of preparing is putting yourself first and then putting your commitments first and looking at what's left. So I'm just going to say for the sake of conversation, you have 5 hours left in a day, and now you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. Well, the brain dump into a priority quadrant is going to tell you what you need to do today, what you need to do later, what you shouldn't be doing at all, what someone else should be doing, and what needs a system. So like imagine taking your brain dump, and everyone's going to do it a little different. Some people like to highlight, some people like to circle, some people do it on paper, some people do it digitally. Yet at the end of the day, the first step to that dump is what is only on the Jen only list. What does Jen actually have to do on this list, and by when? And then all of a sudden you see that Jen starts to have a due date. This is how I do it. How long do I think it's going to take me to complete it? Then I like to actually pay attention so I know how long it takes me to complete it. And then the next time I go to do it, if I tell myself it was taking me 30 minutes, but every time it takes me an hour and a half, and I'm only blocking 30 minutes, I'm not doing it. So I actually pay attention to what it takes me to complete tasks, so I'm in reality around my priorities. And if I have only 5 hours to go, and I'm in 6 hours of action, there's an hour here that's got to go to something else. So is it to tomorrow? Is it to someone else? Is it to a system? Is it a dump? I shouldn't even have said yes to this. So how do I say yes how, yes when, no, not on those terms? So these are all the ways that you start to go from preparation to knowing how you plan, because you know what's left to actually do. And then when you work through and you get to the planning stage, because now we've dumped, and now we've prioritized these quadrants, so we're clear on everything that's in our brain. We're clear on everything that we think we have to do as close to immediately, because they're on the me only list. And now we have to plan to perform, which is really that breakfast of champions, because this is where your brain doesn't think, because you're creating the playbook in advance of the action, right? Okay, so the ultimate goal here is to be able to take action to fill a perfect pipeline, right? At the end of the day, in real estate sales, the goal is that all of your actions and planning and preparation are taking you to everybody being in the pipeline where you want them to be. So when you start every day and you look at your preparation and you figure out what to do to plan, you need to see, do I have X amount of listing agreements signed that are going to go active in the next week or two, that are going to have a chance to pend in the next 2 weeks for me to say I'm going to have a closing? It takes about 3 to 5 A buyers right now to get an offer accepted and closed. So I'm going to close 2 buyers this month. Well, if I don't have 3 to 5, so 6 to 10 people who are telling me that they're going to buy today, I'm not going to have them. And so when we talk about preparation, we talk about planning, when we have this list, when we have the space, when we have the time, you need to look at your pipeline, because whatever's gapping in the pipeline is the priority of what you need to do in your lead conversion actions. And so once we have that together, you can start using certain tools to help make it happen. I'm just going to show you some examples. You can take some pictures. Everybody's different. And these are some of the things that I have found people to use that are very, very effective. If you look on the left side of this, this breaks down to having 1 to 3 goals every day that you hold accountable to yourself, that you commit to. This tracks understanding your energy levels. This looks at, did I look at my scoreboard? Did I look at my calendar? What's my mindful moment? What's my gratitude moment? What habits am I looking to build? And how many days a week did I take action on the habit? I can share these too. They're like my tools that I've built, so I can share this with you guys if you want to use it. But you can see the consciousness in this preparation and plan. This is true awareness. You can't hide from this. So if you set these goals, if you pay attention to your energy, if you're creating habits that you don't have, and you hold yourself accountable to the cue, where do you think you're going to end up? And then you come on this side and you start to say, okay, well, as part of my planning and preparation, all I do is win, win, win no matter what. And in order to win, win, win no matter what, you have to do a certain amount of action until you get the result. So remember, real estate is predictable. There's not many people in this room who it would take more than 2 hours to set an appointment if you took 2 hours of consistent action. Most of you just won't take the 2 hours of consistent action and handle the rejection and handle the conversations that aren't the wins to get there. Yet ultimately in planning and preparation, what you're looking at here is SOI conversations, past client conversation, hot seller conversations, and conversion touches. And here's name, addresses, and dates. So like, what does it look like for you to have a version of this that you go until you win? This isn't apply effort and win or lose and then cry. This is apply effort until you get the results, go win and do it again. There's nobody in this room who can't get the result you want on a daily basis. There's nobody in this room who can't set an appointment a day in 2 to 3 hours. Please, I will pay someone $10,000 to lead generate 3 hours a day and come to me and tell me that they don't get an appointment in 5 days. I've taken new agents who don't even know how to talk, who can set appointments in 2 hours. So how is it that we can't do it? And I don't think there's anyone in this room who will stand up and tell me, Jen, I'm applying the appropriate effort and I don't see the result, what's wrong? And so like this planning and preparation is the gap between you having the transparency to see it, so again, you can get what you want. This becomes just more ways to look at it, like we love listings, yes? Okay, well like what's our listing focus? What type of listing activity are we doing today? And then how am I staying in the focus? If you do 5 calls from past open houses, and then you call 5 circle prospecting leads, and then you call 2 SOI, and then you call 2 leads from Zillow, the likelihood of getting anywhere is almost none. You'd have to be in that 10% luck gap. But 90% of your action and effort and result is going to come on the other side. So I really encourage you to stay in one thing long enough to find the result. If today we're circle prospecting the 2 listings that we sold in the neighborhood, keep circle prospecting till at least you get a nurture. If not an appointment, don't make 15 circle prospecting calls and say I circle prospected today. If you're gonna call your SOI and wish them happy Thanksgiving, call your SOI and wish them happy Thanksgiving until somebody tells you that they have some sort of real estate related need, not by you asking them if they are looking to buy, sell, or invest, but by them asking you how you are and you saying it's a beautiful day in real estate. And they're gonna say, you know what it is? Because I finally got that bonus I wanted and I'm ready to buy that townhouse as our first investment property. Or you're right, is it? Because the interest rates suck, but I'm really ready to sell and move up because my wife's pregnant again. It all starts to happen, yet this preparation and planning to do enough of the work is what's missing, and just looking at some of these tools hopefully helps. That schedule of activities, this transformation into calendar and time, really becomes how you create things for yourself. Now, everybody's brain works different, yet when we're looking at these tools, there's some things that may be very helpful for you. Everyone in this room works off of one of 2 things, pain or pleasure. So raise your hand if you think you work off pain, and raise your hand if you think you work off pleasure. Okay, so if you work well off of pain, you're somebody who wants to go for those no's and the go fuck yourselves at the bottom, excuse my language if that's not appropriate. You want to get as many of those check boxes humanly possible. If you're somebody who works off reward, you want to get that success list to be super strong, and you want to be able to check that success list off as fast as possible so that you feel it. And then at the end of the day, what happens in the calendar, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about it, is just figure out a percentage of time. If you're going to work 8 to 9 hours, 33% of it is 3 hours a day that you would actually pay attention to what you do. Again, if you have no time that you know what you're doing, start with an hour of preparation and planning. Start with 2 hours of preparation and planning, 3 hours preparation and planning, and go be a hot mess like you already are the rest of the time. Yet give yourself just little incremental moves towards a direction that's going to help get you these actions and time on task that you need. Here's just more ways to be able to do that. And Inside of the planning and preparation, what ends up happening for us is the most important relationship at all becomes the calendar. And it's either gonna be your best friend or it's gonna be your worst enemy. And if it's not on your calendar, your brain isn't going to cue you to do it. So that's the first thing. This is the ultimate cue partner. Your calendar allows you to take actions dictated by a plan versus your emotion. So when we're thinking, we're acting on feeling. When we're executing on calendar, we're executing on plan out of commitment, not out of desire. And it also maps your results. So when you look back at your calendar and you either have what you want or you don't have what you want, you actually can go back and see where you drove and what was missing in the destination. If that's not there, how do you have any clue how to get where you want to go? It's almost impossible. And Katie was talking to us about this difference here of time blocking and action blocking, which I'm very passionate about in calendar work. So time blocking, who has time blocks on their calendar? Who ignores the time blocks on their calendar? Yay, it's white noise. And so what action blocking is it's a time-sensitive use of the calendar and where we prepare the things we're going to do in a normal time frame of our priorities. So an action block is added daily or weekly based on the priorities and the aligned time from what we did in those quadrants and what we did in those preparations. Now we take it into action. You enter them in the calendar as urgent and important. So the action blocks are non-negotiable. They're not white noise. You don't move them to do something else and forget about them. They become the priority. So if you have a showing and you had an action block at 2, that action block needs to be at 4 now, or it needs to be tomorrow at 9 a.m. It can't delete because it's an action block and you're committed to taking action. So it's not like, oh, I missed the action, my settlement ran over, no action. It's here's my action block, now where am I gonna dance the action block so I perform to what I committed to. That's what it's about. And they're very specific actions. So your action block's not gonna say lead generation for 2 hours. Your action block is going to say 15 happy Thanksgiving DMs. It's going to say 10 agent attraction invites to event. It's going to say 5 follow-up texts from my open houses last weekend. When you go into the action block, you don't think about what to do in the action block. Everything you need is there ahead of time. So that's the difference. You are preparing to be able to do the work in the moment that the block presents itself. And then you review it constantly. My favorite thing is scroll your calendar before you scroll Instagram. So what does it look like when you're looking at that alignment consistently and you're paying attention to who you're being first? It's powerful, it's painful, and it's powerful. It doesn't feel good. And so this accountability model is going to set you up for success so that you actually can earn the feel goods, so that you can earn the desire. Number 1 is I've got my, actually let's read it through. You can do the first one, save my voice.
I've got my mind set in self-awareness and possibility.
Manifest. You want to do it all together? Let's do it together. Manifested? Okay, number 2. 3. 4. 5. Pipeline, CRM, database. Go ahead. So if we did this, everybody, do you think we'd have what we want in 2025? 100%. And now again, I can sit here and I can pour my heart and soul and I can pour my vision of possibility and I can share results that I know people who have walked before you have gotten. That at the end of the day, I am meaningless unless you bring meaning to it for you, right? Unless you bring willingness and you bring possibility in it for yourself. And ultimately, the goal here for 2025 immersion into your business is you being able to know exactly how to get what you want. And until you can sit here in this industry and tell yourself, I have the tools and systems to know how to get what I want, it's on you. It's really on you. You are the one who is the issue. You are the thing between what you want. If you can and when you can come to me and show me how you are preparing, planning, executing, and taking action, if there's any gap between where you want to be and where you are, we will solve that. It likely isn't going to happen. You get yourself to that point because the results are probably going to come fast. And here's a big thing. You know, the biggest thing keeping people from attracting their dreams is worrying about their past or worrying on the future. They say the rear view is smaller than the windshield for a reason. And pay attention to the things around you and try to notice when the stepping stone to your desire is near, because now is all we have. This moment, this day, this choice. And we get so stuck in the future and we get so locked in the past that we are paralyzed as human beings. Our brains are unable to perform to the desires that we want because we're unconscious of what's occurring. And all I want for all of you is the consciousness to know that the present moment is what is available to you. Your next breath, your next choice, your next action. And regardless of where you are today and what you told yourself you could have or what you told yourself you should have, the possibility really exists for you to change anything in this moment, because ultimately it's the state of ourselves that is going to change anything for us. And when we take these tools and we take the time, we can actually be able to make something happen differently. So what I'm going to do is I think I will stop here for everybody, and then I can, I'll save the rest for later. Was this helpful? Let's hear some ahas. Let's break it down. Yeah, okay, so share with me what you guys got from this immersion workshop and what's ahead.
Time block as opposed to action block. I've been teaching and working time blocks forever, and I'm walking away from my time block, and not doing what I preach. And now I see the action block is actually writing down exactly what I'm going to do in that time block. Now I know I can fucking succeed.
Yes, you can. Finale is going to be the #1 results getter in this room. I love that. Thank you. Okay, what else are we hearing and seeing and thinking? Yes.
I just have some more clarity about what I need to do, which is create a database because I don't have one.
Yeah.
And talk to colleagues and ask what worked and who they call. Like I feel like from this all I have a clearer outlook on what needs to be done.
That's perfect. I love that. Let's hear some more.
Lagging and leading indicators.
Um,
Gotta pay attention to them.
Yeah, that's huge.
Get it out of my mind, write it down.
No brain.
So throw up when he sees my calendar, but I put every thought in my calendar.
Yeah.
And I can find it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, remember on that day I went to the thing and it was on that day. There it is. There's that note.
Let's hear what else.
Everybody's been planning.
Yes?
Set up the goals.
You got it. Let's hear some more. These are all excellent.
Investing in the soul, like mind, body, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not my best self when I don't do that, so like I don't work.
Oh my God, I'm hearing some 2025 goal getters. All right, let's hear some more.
Set up the system.
Yeah? Okay, systems are going to get you.
Mine is the planning and preparing, but like also debriefing. Like what went well, what didn't go well, and then making a change in your action plan going forward.
Yeah, you are each a sport. Figure out how to play that game, right? Figure out how to get on the practice field. Figure out how to roll the tape. Look at the wins, look at the losses. What else? Yeah.
I think we all know that like the mindset and planning is so important at the beginning of that timeline, but the visual of how we jump over it so frequently was really like kind of a stopping moment for me where I was like, I know that. Oh shoot, but I show up every day at reactivity way too often than mindset and planning first. So that was great visual.
Thank you. That is a phenomenal reminder. Who else wants to share? A couple more? Yeah.
The cues to take action as opposed to just general accountability, but like the cue accountability.
Yes, you're going to have a cue partner. What else? One or two more? Who's in the back? I haven't heard from you guys. Who wants to share? Except for Ben shared. Anyone back there at the table? Don't be shy. No one wants to share?
I have something else on just
Yeah.
uphill mindset. I like how you have a lot of stuff about your feelings in your slides. 'Cause
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll be like, I gotta shoot that content. Lori told me to write blah blah blah, but then I'm like, but I don't feel like it. You gotta not be. It's okay to not feel like it.
You're never going to feel like it, right? Desire is not the starting point. Everything we don't feel like doing are the things that are going to move us. If you continue to stay in the things you feel like doing, you're going to get the same. So that's a really good trigger for that.
We'll also detach though from the feelings of the yucky feelings. Just get it done.
Go and do and be? Yes.
I just have a thought that came, it was a breakthrough year in 2013, and Eric, what he was talking about, telling people about what you're up to, what your goals are, and creating that accountability. And I remember David DeVoe brought me into a room, and I was stuck at this plateau of not making that much money as a realtor. And he knew that I had just started dating her. And he called her into a room. She was busting her butt as an OT day in, day out, working 50, 60 hours a week. And he explained to her that all I had to do was talk to 20 new people 5 days a week. And at the end of every single day, and we had just started dating, so she was like my new girlfriend, I had to scan and email my contact list to her and to DeVoe as accountability. And if I didn't do that, and I missed days, but if I didn't do that, then I had to hear she had Dave's permission at dinner to really just question and grill in on me. So I just bring it up.
Brett didn't get date night on Saturday when he didn't make his contacts.
Accountability over something that was so simple and talked about the simplicity of this business. And it was really difficult for her to understand, like, you just couldn't talk to 20 people. All you have to do.
I understand that.
But that's the reality versus what people have to do. So I just bring that story up because it's such a good way of moving this whole thing forward with the action plans.
Does anyone have one more they want to share? You guys were so awesome. This feedback was incredible.
Food smells good, somebody share.
Food smells good.
Only one fire.
Okay, I'm going to ask, thank you guys for taking the time with us today. There's always so much that I could share. I have a bunch more that we can go into in our next layer, yet I felt like it was really important to slow down a little and really understand this part of it, because with this part of it in control, everything else that we talk about will be easy and it won't be challenging to execute tactics when you have mindset, preparation, planning, and clarity in place.
It might even be fun.
It might even be fun, and we might all get what we want, and we have the highest energy in every possibility. So with 2025, we are definitely going to prosper. Everyone in this room deserves to get what they want, and I believe in each and every one of you, and I believe that every one of you can get the goal if you're willing to show up for yourself and act, and we're here to support you in every single way we can to do it. So thank you all for your time. I can't wait for 2025 to be amazing for all of us. We're gonna party and have some Friendsgiving, but first can we all kind of get together and take a picture, and then we can all be free? Yay! Maybe just come back here. Thank you all.